Hi friends, it's Sunday, October 6th, and I am finally getting around to being able to record a little update video. And excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth. I've been having to try to keep a cough drop in my mouth almost nonstop. Anyhow, a couple things right off the bat, in case you don't watch this whole video, which I hope you do. But first of all, I'm still pretty much without communication, except for when I go into town. I do make it into Irwin, obviously, almost every day now, but it's not a quick trip because of the traffic that's having to be rerouted and so many people that are coming to try to get supplies from North Carolina. What's normally 20 minutes can easily be 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour, depending on traffic. So yeah, when I'm up here, sometimes I get one very unsteady bar. Most of the time, nothing. However, text messages are definitely the best way to reach me. So text me. That's preferred over Facebook or all the other apps that I can't really get when I'm up on the mountain. So if you're tagging me on Facebook because of supplies or different things that are needed, I'm probably not going to get it sometimes until 24 hours later. So please text me instead. Also, I'm going to be asking a few questions. I need to find out what the deal is with Starlink and how that's operating now, in case somebody can help me with that. And if anybody knows how to set up one of these emergency, one of these analog radios, for the life of me, I cannot figure out how to do it. And if there's any way you can talk me through it over the phone, I would appreciate your help. Okay, so with today's video, I'm hoping to give you an update on what's been happening with relief efforts here. And also I want to thank all of my friends who have sent money to go towards supplies. I want to give an update about that. And of course, I have not been able to individually thank everybody, but just so you know, I will get to that at one point. For now, I just want to say thank you so much. It's so appreciated. Yeah. So, one thing that I think is really important to say is that I'm getting a lot of messages from people on the outside who are very confused, or just basically saying they're getting such mixed messages in terms of what's needed, what's actually happening, and so on. I'm guessing this is probably for a couple of reasons. One is because things tend to spin out of control very quickly on social media, right? That's one thing. So there's nothing we can really do about that other than to be discerning and maybe stay in contact with your friends that you have in the area that you actually can have some sort of contact with, or that are giving updates, right? What I do want to say though, yesterday we were on kind of a mission that took us all day. We were in lots of different places. And I'll just say this to everybody, people who are living here and those of you who are kind of on the outside looking in. I don't think we can really make any blanket statements of, you know, whether things are okay, not okay, whether these things are needed or not needed, because it completely depends on the area. I don't want that to come across like I'm downplaying anything. What I'm trying to say is this is so spread out, and it's affecting so many different communities over so many different counties and multiple states, that even within the same county, there can be various communities who are in a completely different state right now, if that makes sense, right? Like there are some communities where there seem to be a lot of supplies flowing in, and some that are still in need. So the very best I can do to answer those questions that I'm getting is just to do regular updates, and let you guys know what I'm actually seeing, right? Asheville, different parts of Asheville might be a completely different story than, let's say, up the holler little places in the tucked away mountains of Tennessee, right? So, and by the way, for those of you who didn't watch the first update video I made a couple days ago, go watch that first. Okay, so here's my experience based on the last couple of days of driving to all sorts of places to distribute supplies. Again, no blanket statements because it's so different. It's so different everywhere you go. A lot of the relief centers have gotten a lot of incoming donations, such as clothes and canned food and, the basics like the toiletries, like toilet paper and baby wipes and diapers and things like that, right? And those are probably donations that are naturally going to keep flowing because once those donations start, I think they keep going, and for the most part, right? And it's really becomes a very large organizational effort on the part of the community centers as well as the churches who are organizing, to keep things organized and flowing through and so on, right? So there are actually some relief stations that are no longer accepting donations, or maybe I should say, as of right now, not accepting any more donations. So I have some friends that yesterday tried to bring a trailer of donations to a couple of places in Asheville and got turned away because, they said they had more than they could handle at the moment. So like I said in my Facebook post that I made a couple of days ago, there are certainly items that are very needed that we actually definitely do not have a surplus of. And I'll talk about those items here in just a moment. First, I'm going to share a couple of experiences from the last few days to give you guys a picture. As you know, we basically set out to start trying to reach people who needed some of the basics, people that may be either cut off because of roads not working, roads being totally out of commission, or vehicles not working, or for various reasons, just needing supplies brought to them. And one of the things that we noticed is that there are a lot of people who are not coming to the relief centers to get supplies. And I think they may fall into a couple of different categories. I can't say that I know why this is happening. I do feel like that for some of the younger folks, there may be like a survivor guilt happening, or maybe even, how do I explain this? Like, all I can say is that there are quite a few people who are not getting what they need because maybe they still have their house. Nobody died in their family, right? And even though they have now been without power and water for 10 days, which is quite challenging, right? And also very much feeling the effects of what's happening, are kind of, turning down supplies, or just not taking them because they think somebody else needs them more. So if you fall into that category and you happen to see this, just remember, you really have to be able to take care of yourself. so that you can take care of your neighbors. And you also were affected by this disaster. Okay, I know it's a lot to process, and people are going through all the different phases and stages. But anyway, the other thing that we noticed yesterday is that there are a lot of elderly folks who are not coming to the relief stations for various reasons. Some of them, obviously, it may be lack of transportation and so on, but there are also quite a few who are not wanting to go out. And again, I'm not quite sure why this is happening. Not sure if some of it might be PTSD related for a few of the war vets that I spoke with, older men that I spoke with. And then there may also be this, like a resilience almost to a fault, maybe within the older generation. You know, I think, again, there are a lot of them that assume that that there are other people who need things more than they do. And the truth is, many of them really do have great need, especially since this may affect them for weeks to come, right? Like, we are now on day 10 of not having electricity, not having cell phone service, and many people also not having water. The story that I can tell you that illustrates this a bit is when Marquise and I were out and about yesterday distributing supplies. We drove past a couple that were, down by a creek, and it looked like they were getting water out of the creek. It was a dirty creek too. And I'm happy that my son was in the car. Some of you know my son Marquise, he's 15, so he's been coming on these little missions with me. And he right away, he hit my arm and he said, "Mom, stop the car. Those people, go to those people," right? And so it was a little delayed reaction on my part, but we drove over, and here, this was an older couple, I'm guessing in their 70s, or the gentleman might have been in his early 80s. They were filling old 5-gallon buckets and old cat litter containers with water out of the creek. So here they were going down this steep creek bank to get dirty water out of the creek. And I pulled up and I said to them, "Hey guys, hi, what are you doing? Are you getting this water to flush toilets?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna flush the toilets." And I said, "How about clean water? Do you guys have clean water?" And they said, "Well, we have a little. We've got what we need, I think. And I said, "How about having enough, so that you're gonna have clean water?" And I had that morning we had actually acquired some of those large water coolers, the ones that have the spigot on the front, and along with the bottled water, we filled those with the spring water from the mountain here, which is nice, clean water. And so I brought one of those over, and I said, "How about one of these? How about do you want one of these with its nice, clean water, and you can just use this little spigot right here?" And the man goes, "But honey, I don't know how I'm going to get that cooler back to you." And I said, "But no, this is yours. You can keep this. This is," and gave them obviously the cooler and more supplies, and pretty much everything else I offered. They said, "Oh no, we don't need it. We don't really need it." And then towards the end, I was almost about to get back in the truck and drive away. The lady approached me and said, "Well, actually, do you have those little cans of propane?" And I said, yes, we have those. Are you cooking on a camp stove?" And they said, "Yeah, we've got our little camp stove." And so of course I set her up with a few bottles of propane, and it was just such an example of folks that are in need, that are not getting the supplies for whatever reason they have. Likely thinking that other people need it more, and some people are also afraid of looting, or hearing bad things and just not really wanting to go out there. So what is really beginning to identify itself as a great need is, I guess we could call it like step 2 in this whole process. Step 1 being this receiving of donations and the setting up of all these little help centers, and which are mostly run by the community centers and by the churches. But then the next step is to begin to find everybody who needs supplies brought to them. And we need to get those supplies to people. And it greatly varies. Some people are really close to town, and they live in a neighborhood that totally looks untouched, and it's fine. But then you have, elderly folks just now on day 10 of no electricity and water. And then, of course, there are also countless of people that live way further back in the woods. So for me personally, and I do believe that we all kind of find our task, right? Like we all find our task that we can focus on, that we can feel effective with. And as the dust is settling, so to speak, right? That we know our own way to make a difference. And living out in the sticks here myself, and having the truck with 4-wheel drive, I have realized that I believe the biggest difference that I can make is exactly that. Being very intentional with funds, very intentional with donations and with supplies, gathering what we are able from the relief centers and buying the rest with donations that are coming in from you guys, and then distributing these things to the people that really need them. And secondly, I'm beginning to look at things a little bit more long-term, knowing that there are people out here who will have needs, meaning they may be cut off from essentials like power and cell phone for weeks to come. And the weather we're getting a cold snap this week, and then just looking ahead, knowing that, a month from now, it gets much colder, and so on. Thank God it's not like the Midwest here. Usually our falls are very mild, but the temperatures can very much fluctuate, right? So let's talk about supplies. I've had a lot of you asking whether it'd be helpful to be sending trailers full of, toiletries and those kind of things. From what I can tell, there is plenty of that for right now. I do believe that there is no shortage. In fact, like I said before, some relief centers are no longer taking some of those items for the time being because it's an issue when it comes to space and organization, right? So thinking a little bit more long-term, meaning what do people need right now, as well as what are they going to need over the next few weeks. Those items are similar to what I was listing on my Facebook post the other day. We're talking about things like gasoline and propane, flashlights, batteries, camp stoves, things like that. So basically, what I realized would be best for me to focus on is essentially warmth and nourishment. So warmth making sure that people have what they need to be warm as the cold snap comes, as well as, you know, being able to cook food and boil water. Now, what a lot of people really need is a generator, but generators can be thousands of dollars. And a friend of mine told me yesterday somebody had gotten a truckload of generators in, and they were discounted to only $900, and but people could get a reimbursement check from FEMA months down the road. Now, I can tell you that is $900 is way out of reach for a lot of the folks that live up in these mountains. So we're going to have to just focus on making sure that they have other ways to stay warm and cook food. So what I did today with some of the money that you sent is I ordered a bunch of propane camp stoves on with Amazon. It turns out that Amazon is coming back into Irwin, and although it's not like second-day delivery or anything, they're going to be here by Thursday. So I am beginning to compile a list of things that people need to basically be off the grid and be a bit more comfortable, have their basic needs met. And what we're going to do then is basically assemble these kits, like preparedness kits, that we can get to people that they can then use to, you know, survive and not get sick and so on. So I'm going to leave it at that. Again, thank you so much to all of you who have sent money. Like I said, I promise you it will all go to good use. We're going to keep gas in this truck to keep this truck running, and we're going to assemble these kits. I'm going to keep you guys updated, and hopefully with the list making I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do one of those wish lists on Amazon, or maybe I'll just compile a list in a document. So if some of you have churches or organizations that want to pitch in and know that you know the supplies are actually reaching people, and you guys want to donate or buy some of those things directly and have them sent, I have an address in Irwin that they can be sent to. Yeah, I have so much more to tell you guys, but this video is already really long. So hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll send you more. Oh, the other thing I was going to ask you, since I'm not on the internet very much, I'm hoping that maybe some of you can help me figure out what is the deal with Starlink. I know that it had been announced that Starlink internet, right, is the satellite internet is free in the hurricane affected areas, but I think we still have to buy the little terminals, which I heard are around $300 or something like that. So the thought is, there are some areas where people are able to set up these little Starlink terminals and have them become a little bit of a hub for their, I'll just say quote unquote neighborhood, their little region, because there are so many people that are completely cut off without communication. And if they would be able to go somewhere and at least make calls through the internet, then that could be super helpful. So if anybody can help me figure out what it would take to get Starlink terminals, that would be super helpful right now, and we can use some of the donation money toward that, having people set up, you know, with the basics, but also obviously with a way to communicate with the outside world, hopefully. And yeah, again, if you know how to set up an analog emergency radio, let me know, and maybe you can guide me through it over the phone. Okay, I love you guys so much. Text me. You can leave me messages on Facebook and stuff, but like I said, I might not get them until quite some hours later. And That's all. Love you. Bye.